Hello again, and welcome to our book study of 10x is easier than 2x. Today we're going to be discussing chapter 3, which I found this chapter to be rather intense. Thoughts?
I really loved it because so much in the beginning for sure talked about wants over needs. And that really was powerful to me because, as we've discussed at length in our year of doing calls, I am surrounded by people who are like, what do you need that for? You don't need that. You don't need that. What do you want? What do you need that for? And really the want, I can want whatever I want.
Exactly.
I don't need
That
it.
yes, that concept was very freeing for me.
It
It's like it's
was,
okay to want what I want.
and it's okay for you
And
to not want what I want. We are so different.
yes,
I
yes.
in when I got my first and only Louis Vuitton, I remember Deanna being like, "Why do you don't need that?" And I was like, "You are right." But I have wanted one for as long as I can think of,
Mhm.
and it wasn't charged. We paid cat, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
but it was certain people around me who were like, "You don't need that. Why would you even want that?" I'm like, mm, "I've always wanted one. Now I have
Right.
one, and now I'm, back to buying my purses off at either clearance at the Coach outlet or TJ Maxx, and I
Right.
carry them all with joy. Whichever one I'm carrying, I carry with joy.
Absolutely.
It didn't hurt anybody. Nobody went hungry because Christy got a, $5,000 purse. There was
Right.
not a blip made in
Right.
anybody else's life except for mine, you know?
Yes. Well, and I
Yeah,
liked also alongside that the distinction between money and wealth.
I love that. I'm going to make my husband read that tonight because I thought that was really powerful, you know?
Yes, I did too.
Because people get
So,
so stuck on the like wanting money. But as he pointed out, like there are places where your money would not be worth anything.
right,
Like that's not
right,
wealth. There are places where the wealth really would come because you're really good at harvesting a garden and hunting and building a fire. You know what I mean?
right,
That would be wealth.
right. Yeah, because he made the comparison in the book to if you're in Antarctica where there's nothing to buy, money has no value. The wealth comes in what you're able to do. So I really like that about that the wealth is the experiences and so forth rather than the money. And that's what I feel like if I say I want money, I want the money to be able to create those experiences, to be able to travel, to have the freedom from worry about being able to pay the bills. It's not the money, it's the freedom
Yeah.
and the experiences.
He says on 103, wealth is value. Wealth is something that someone wants, whether that be a physical commodity, information or knowledge, or some form of service. And I love that because Rob and I joke pretty regularly that if we just had abundant wealth and I didn't just like money wasn't even a thing, I would just go to college all the time. I would
Mhm.
just be enrolled. I love learning and I would be enrolled in classes all the time. Not to stack up degrees, just, you know what I mean?
Right,
And that's where the wealth is, wanting information or knowledge. Like it's the freedom of just what do you want? Not what do you need? Like I don't need to build a business. Rob provides for us. I want to because
Mhm.
all the other stuff that I want or the things I want
Yes,
to experience, or do you know what I mean? Like if I
yes.
never sold another
Play
paycheck
stuff.
in my life, we would not go hungry, you know?
It's your
Right.
play stuff, and there's nothing wrong with playing.
Yeah, and the wants versus needs thing also helped me be okay with um when an issue that it kind of hangs out there with regard to my mom moving down here is people ask me, well, why does she want a house? Because she wants a house. She doesn't want to move into a, a, a senior citizen apartment complex, independent living, whatever. She wants a house. And that this gives me the space now that I can say, you know what she wants, and that's okay. So there was a lot that was really freeing about that for me. Um, it also gave me a place to be able to talk to my mom about um my aunt and uncle's new house, and my mom just feels like my aunt rubs her nose in things that they're able to afford that my mom can't afford. And um I can say to her that this that's their form of wealth. It's not about the money, it's about these are their wants, and that's okay. This is the way they want their home to be, etc. Just like she wants a house rather than an apartment, and it's okay. And it doesn't have anything to do with her.
Everybody's desires are so different for so many different reasons, you know? My stepdad, I don't know how much money he makes, but he recently told me how much last year's bonus was, and his bonus last year was 120,000.
Oh
So
my.
they live in a home that he bought in 1982, and it's in the second wealthiest neighborhood in Tennessee, but he still has they still live in a 1,200 square foot ranch where everybody all around them, they're tearing down the houses and building, $2-3 million homes. And he's still got his little ranch. And I used to ask him, don't you want a bigger home? Because we're just so tight in there, especially now that there's 7 grandkids. It is tight. And he's like, I would rather spend my money on making memories. And so they every year take my brother and their 3 kids to the beach for a week. 3 years ago, they helped paid for us to all go to Park City. They were paying for, part of us to all go on a cruise. Like I would rather, so he has a 55-foot yacht and he has a Mastercraft ski boat. But because his thing is, my house is, that's where I'm sleeping. All
Mhm.
the memories we're making are on these other things that I can afford to do with you guys. And that's where I want my money to go. And I just and it stems back to, I don't know if he realizes this, but he still at 66 years old talks about when his mom and dad took his 2 older brothers to Disney and didn't take him because they couldn't afford to take all 3. And he was like 6. They were like, you wouldn't have liked it anyway. He's so salty, but his whole thing in life is like taking his family, like the trip to Florida with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids. We're all invited, but my husband hates Panama City. Like he's like, I'm not taking a week off work to go to Panama City, and that's where they always go. So it's not as if it's just their trip. They would pay for, but
Mhm.
but if you just drove past their house, you would think they were like the poorest people in the neighborhood. But he's just the amount of money
Different
he had.
priorities.
Yeah, and like when my brother was trying to buy a house, he borrowed $30,000. My parents were able to go, here's $30,000, pay us back when you can. It's like that to him is wealth, not
That
somebody
is cool.
driving by and looking at a $3 million home and being like, impressed by their home. His is all about like, where's my energy going?
Mhm.
You know, and if there was enough money for both and he wasn't ready to retire, you know, because he's talked about it. He loves the lot. And I've told him, I said, don't ever sell this house. I will buy this house. I will tear it down and build a huge home. But, you know,
Right.
that's just real wealth. He doesn't live in a little home because they're broke. It's just not his. You know, he lives in a tiny home that's probably been paid off forever and drives a $90,000 truck. Like, it's just like, he's like, I'm in my truck all the time. I have to drive to Kentucky. I got to drive to St. Louis. Like, so it's like with your Aunt Nicole, that's what they want,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
if you want a huge team and a huge business, who is it for anybody to judge or say?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it requires no justification, you know, and I
Yes.
liked on page 100. Did you underline that where it has the quote from his other book, Wanting What You Want? I'll just read
Yes.
kind of the big, not the first sentence, but if you need something scarce, you have to rationalize why you should have it rather than someone else. Not only do you have to justify what you need to yourself, but you have to justify it to everyone else as well, you know?
Mhm.
And when it's
I
something,
underlined the part above that where it said the needing world is one of scarcity.
yes,
Mhm.
And then later on, that there's a stand entrepreneurs have to take to not give in to their previous need to justify. And you have to be committed to living in a world of wanting and not falling back into a life of needing. And then
yes.
below that, I think I'm going to put this on the bathroom mirror. Of course, if I put everything on the bathroom mirror that I said I was going to, I wouldn't be able to see myself in the mirror. Um, but first of all, I don't need it. I want it. The reason I want it is because I want it.
Period.
And that's all there is. Period. Yes. So, and in reading this chapter, I feel like I was having thoughts of this is why I left teaching. I was trapped. I just felt trapped. And part of the fear in leaving teaching was also mentioned in here about because it felt like quitting who I was.
Right.
So um so there was a lot going on in the background for me as I was reading this chapter, the wanting versus needing, and then the part about getting into the part about unique ability. That's going to take a bit more work for me because I'm not sure what that is. In fact, I have no idea what my unique ability is.
You know, at the upper level, your unique ability is everything that you've been through, you know, every gift
Mhm.
that God has given you, every trial you've given and risen up from, you know, those are things that all make you unique that no one else has gone through. As unique as your thumbprint is your experiences.
Makes sense. Whatever you're rolling your eyes at, we can't hear. I didn't hear it.
It
So
started,
maybe it's like when Lola barks here and you can't hear it. She has left the room, actually. I don't know where she went. Um, so anyway, the other thoughts on unique ability, wealth, wanting versus needing.
something that based on what you said, Angie, of not knowing what your unique ability is, is at the bottom of 112. Unique ability requires you to determine what you personally like and dislike doing and decide that others' opinions about it are irrelevant. So what are kind of some of the things? Let's talk through for the people that might also struggle with coming up with their unique ability. What are some things that you like doing? What are some things that you don't like doing?
I like reading and talking about what I've read.
Okay.
Um,
So you would
particularly,
be
what?
a very valuable member of book clubs. Like I love
Well, and
reading, but I don't soak any of it in. So I go to book clubs and I'm like, I don't really remember what that character did. Like I'm the worst.
uh-huh.
And I know that it's different from others because my daughter-in-law, I try to read a lot of the books that she loves, just, because I love her. And when she knows I'm reading a certain one, she'll say, "Where are you?" Like in the book. And I'll say, chapter 32. And she, not as if she looked it up in the book, within seconds, the text bubble is up and she is going over what happened in the chapter before. And I'm like, I'm just in the middle of it trying to remember who's who. And it's a remark, people that remember and discuss what they've read in the books. That's a remarkable ability to me because I keep a Goodreads account just so I can remember that I read the freaking book and how many stars I gave it. And then my mom will say, like, have you read this book? And I'm like, yes, and I liked it this much. I don't remember anything about it.
Well, and I do a lot of that too, because like with the book club that I'm in, I like the book. I like for that book to be the last thing I've read before I go to book club meeting. Because as once I move on and read something else, it pushes back in my memory. But there are books that I have read over and over because I taught them as a teacher, and read them with my classes, and we discussed the characters and the motivation and the symbolism and all that stuff. And those are the books that are deeply embedded in my memory. And I enjoy that kind of thing, studying a book on that level. Just reading it once doesn't do that for me.
No.
But studying it on that level, like what I've done with classes, that's what I enjoy. And Christy, you were talking a minute ago about if you could, you would just go to college all the time. Even when I was still in college getting my degree, I was thinking about someday in the future, I would like to just audit rather classes where I could read the book, go to class for the discussion, but not have to write the papers.
Yes. Yeah.
So that kind of thing. But also, I tend to retain fiction better than I retain nonfiction.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's okay, so what else?
What else do I like to do?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So what he says here is after somebody's shared some of their unique abilities, and well, I have a unique ability in 10 areas. And I say, well, that might be good for the next 90 days, but you're going to notice at the end of 90 days that 7 of those someone else could do. There's just 2 or 3 that are really yours.
See, and that's where I get hung up
That's where
because
you
I don't
get
think
stuck.
I don't think I've pursued anything deeply enough to like it says that the unique ability is a deep rabbit hole. And I don't think I've ever pursued anything deeply enough to get that far.
Have you overcome something that was really big? If you had to name a trial in your life that changed your life, could you? You don't have to share it here. I mean, this is a recording, but could you?
Well, after my first divorce and being single for as long as I was and managing to support myself rather than having a second income to rely on, or rather a primary income and mine being the second income. Um, and I think that's part of why I cling to my independence even within my marriage, is because
Well, of course it is. And you would have a unique ability to help women who are either single or probably also those in their second marriage, because I think anybody in their second marriage, most people, especially if they were not the primary breadwinner at the time, always have that in the back of their mind. The what if?
Mhm.
What if this doesn't work out? What if he leaves? I don't know if there's a woman on the planet who hasn't thought, what if he leaves me? But you have, I'm not saying he left you, but your marriage has ended and you supported yourself, and now you are in a place where you know and understand very personally the desire to, not out of need, right? You're not going to lose a roof over your head if you don't work, right? You're not going to not be able to eat dinner, but the want to have some financial freedom, financial independence, financial freedom of, I'm reading another book right now that's fabulous. But it had me write today, what's one of your biggest frustrations? Because then you work through getting over it. But my biggest one is Rob's constant nagging about the things that I buy or
Mhm.
want to buy, or, and I want the freedom, want being the key word. I don't need it. Like, he would take care of me forever. It's not even out of a need of what if he leaves me. I mean, he and my mom were joking 2 weeks ago when she was here, like, if he left me, and she's like, she just moved back home. And I was like, oh, you guys are killing me. Surely I could take care of myself. But regardless, I absolutely could move back home.
Yeah.
So there's not a need for me to succeed. There is a want for my financial independence and strength that I have. And mine stems from a very judgmental, a man who makes a ton of money and has the biggest scarcity mindset ever. Right. And I know we've talked about this before. You can commiserate on that. And I feel like we're probably not alone in having that as something to be able to work with other women on. It's not that they may not need more money. They know it'll always get figured out, but the want of, like, even if it's the wanting to never have my husband look up at me over his laptop when he's doing Quicken again. Like, I would love for that
That's
to
no
never
good. Oh,
be a thing
no.
again. Yeah, I want that to be done.
Well,
You
and that's part of what I have written in my why I do my Plexus business, is I don't ever want to hear the words, we can't afford that.
Yes. And when Rob says that, because he says that a lot, my response every time is, we totally can. You just don't want to spend any money on that. And that's okay. You get to have that opinion, but don't say we can't afford it. You would just rather that money go into your 401k, or do you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's,
Just be honest about it. It's okay.
and that's my thing, is I'm like, don't, because when you say it, your brain believes it. We
Yes,
can't
and
afford
that's
that.
exactly the
We don't,
direction you're going.
yeah, we don't have the money for that. We can't afford it. Well, he firmly believes that because he has said it so often. And so
Mhm.
even just the reframing of, we can't afford that, but I'd rather put the money in an investment. I would rather put the
You'd
money
rather hear that. Yeah.
wherever. And that's letting your brain know, okay, we can make more money because we know what we're going to do with it.
Mhm.
Right.
And there's a big difference there.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Because some
Yeah.
people can't. Some people, it's actually a thing. They can't afford it. But that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're talking about like scarcity versus abundance, money versus wealth.
Right.
Our husbands right now are working for a paycheck,
Yes.
not because they're doing a job that they are passionate about and love and feel like it's going to change the world. It is, I make good money. I'm respected. I have to work even after I get home because it's so important that people see me working all the time, whatever it is. Um,
There's a lot to that.
it's just, there's a job title that goes along with it. There's a lot that goes with that. And I think as women, we sometimes can feel diminished in our wants because of the power they want to feel in what they're doing. Right? Like, and not because they wouldn't change it, right? Like, as much as Rob jokes, he just wants to buy a house in Costa Rica and rent jet skis for a living. He really enjoys making money.
Mhm.
He really, but then there have that need to be in control. And the hard part is the people that are in control of the majority of our money have a scarcity mindset. And that is hard when we're the people trying to grow. In my
Yes.
opinion, the book I'm
Yes.
reading right now.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does that make sense? So
Yes.
I'm reading. Just
Can you move your money to where people are as up and going as you are?
Yes. So this book, How Heaven Invades Your Finances. I'm this far into it. But I'm doing the work and I'm digging in, and there is a part of me every so often that's like, what good does it do for me to have so much faith in what my Heavenly Father can provide and will do when my husband is the exact opposite?
Hmm.
But what I'm learning and coming to terms with and being okay with is it's okay. I'm going to do my thing in the way that I think Heavenly Father wants me to do it. I'm going to grow in the way. And what I told Rob is, hey, lately, I just feel a lot of negativity from you. And it's not meaning to. So here's an example. This is not a money example, but this is an example, I think, of people, not just men, but people do this without thinking. So Monday morning, I got on the scale. I do it every day. But anyway, Monday morning I got on the scale and Rob's in the bathroom. He goes, how's it looking? And I'm like, it's looking like a lot. End of discussion. He loves me no matter what, whatever. It's looking like a lot. So later in the day, he calls me and he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm about to go to the grocery store. I need to get Andrew some ice cream. Well, because he's at work, is only hearing every other word. He goes, you don't need any ice cream. And I was like,
Oh, yes, he does.
you didn't hear me. I said, I'm getting ice cream for Andrew because of his braces.
Yes,
But let me just
absolutely.
go back and say the fact that you said I didn't need any ice cream is insulting. I can eat whatever I want. He goes, well, you were just complaining on the scale today. I go, no, I wasn't. It's just a number. I wasn't, would you want to lose weight? And I go, haven't said that. Said I was trying to get stronger for my marathon. I was like, in fact, I actually said I'd rather be 160 pounds and happy than 140 pounds and depressed because I've gained so much weight with the birth control the lady doctor put me on. Anyway, I'm like, I've actually said I'd rather weigh more and be happy than weigh less and be miserable, which is how I was. He's like, it's just not what I heard. And I go, here's the thing, those little snide remarks, you don't think twice about it because I know you're not meaning to be ugly, but they come out without you realizing it. I said, you do that when I'm talking about my business also. As I've been looking for a new car and I'm looking at Lexus's, he's like, well, you got to rank up first. He will let me get whatever car I want. That comment was unnecessary, but it's a negative thing in his head where he just says it. He doesn't even realize he's saying it, right? And a lot
It's
of people are like that.
programmed.
They get so negative, they don't even realize those words are popping out. Like people realize it when they're really meaning to be hateful and come at you. They don't realize it when it's those little remarks. So I took the time and said, you're making these little remarks, and I know that you love me and support me, but they're hurtful. So just so you know, in the last month, I have really put some new goals in place and some new reasons for those goals in place. And I am working with my Plexus coach every week, and I am doing this other coaching program, and I'm reading 3 different personal development books, and I have a lot going on. But I actually haven't told you one bit of any of it because I do not want to hear your thoughts. I said, it wasn't always like that. And I said, and actually, the reason I'm telling you is because you're my best friend. I want you in my corner more than anybody, but you're not able to do that right now because you're in such a negative headspace. I said, I think you're getting a lot of it at work. Like we kind of went into a little bit. I said, but here's the thing, until I feel comfortable that you will, with open arms, take my goals and say, how can I support you?
Mhm.
You're not open to them. I'm not giving them to you. And I said, and that's hard because I don't really have a lot of friends. I don't have any friends here. And I said, but I have coaches that I'm paying for and they are supportive. And I have my Plexus coach and he believes I can do it. So right now I have those 2 people who I'm with each once a week. And hopefully you're going to get around to a place where I feel comfortable saying, this is what I want. This is what I'm working on. This is why I'm working on it. And you don't come up with anything but positivity and support to say. And he really he just said, that's a lot to digest. And I said, I understand. I said, and you need to know I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. But I would like to get back to a place where I can share my hopes and dreams with you.
Mhm.
And
And not have the negative remarks.
And that's not a safe
Yes.
spot right now, because if you know my hopes and dreams, you will make tiny remarks that you don't even hear yourself saying,
Yeah.
and they will injure me. And
Injure your relationship.
so it's fascinating. Yesterday he said he went into work yesterday and said, hey, or said, yesterday afternoon, which was the next day, and said, my wife has pointed out that I have gotten pretty negative. I think it's probably because a lot of us in this office are negative, but I'm only responsible for me. So I give you permission. He was saying this to his new team, the people reporting to him. If you hear me being negative about a project or about a task or whatever, feel free to point it out to me because I don't want to be that way. That's not who I want to be. And it starts with me as the boss. And he said, everybody was like, I really like that. I think we could all work on that. But it takes somebody saying,
Yes.
I'm not being fully me with you because I'm not prepared for your comments.
Right. I don't want them.
I don't want them and I don't need them.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so I think that ties back into wants and needs because none of us right here are needing to grow our business to keep a roof over our head. I feel very fortunate. There were times in my business where I needed it to be a certain thing to keep a roof over my head. That is not where I am right now. I don't think that's where either of you are right now. So then it really becomes, what do you want? And I wanted to, in that book that I was reading, there was 10 questions you had to answer, and it was about what you want, your goals, and it's tying so well into this book, which I love. But write this down because this is what really got me thinking even deeper. But it said, what price are you willing to pay to see God's dream for you come true? What price are you willing to pay to see God's dream for you come true? And that's going to look different for everybody, but I think something that would be common for anybody in our business, one of the prices you're going to have to pay is to be in more conversations. We can call it reach outs, we can call it commenting on their posts, we can call it the winning day, whatever it is. We all know the more people we talk to, the more conversations we're in, the more business we get. Right?
Right.
So, but that comes at a price. We've got to we've got to step into it. We've got to engage. We have to care. So my list was be in more conversations, coach more, love more, connect more, pray more, trust more, and believe more. And I could probably go on, but those are that's the price.
Right.
I have to believe in what I believe, which is a lot of digging that I did in Gatlinburg, but what does God really want for me? What do I think he's wanting for me right now?
Right.
And what does that look? And believing that he can truly fulfill anything.
Right. Right.
And
One
go ahead, Gina.
at the very beginning of the chapter, he talked about the devastation of his divorce and the fact that he was not living his life to what he wanted. And so every day he wrote in a journal for 25 years what he wanted, and he celebrated that day at that meeting with his friends or eating, whatever they were doing, that the wife that he had was the one he truly wanted. But he wrote it every day and he saw it in front of him every day, and it changed his thoughts.
I'm so glad that you shared that because I forgot. And I did write right here, journal affirmations. Right there from page 98. So I'm so glad you reminded me of that because that since this journey, at least for the last 3 weeks, that's something I created. I haven't told you guys this, but I started this binder beginning of October, and it's my last 90 days of the year. And I just have really have belief that there's a big shift coming, and I wanted everything I did to be documented. So I'm literally writing down what time I woke up, any exercise I did, what I ate, notes from any of the books that I'm reading, but affirmations every day. And I told Chris Smith, my coach at Plexus, I'm writing my points every day, and where my leaders retreat credits are every day. I'm every day I'm writing down, I'm journaling, not in depth, a lot of it is bullet points, but I'm doing this because
Right.
I want to be able to look back and go, these are the things I did to get here. Or if there
Right.
wasn't near as much change as I wanted, I need to go back and look and go, okay, well, this is what I did. So I need to focus on this or focus on that but by writing it down every day, it's so simple. It takes just a few minutes,
Right.
and I just kind of keep it with me and I jot down, and worst case at the end of the night, I just jot it all down and I'm not counting calories or macros or anything. It's literally like,
Right.
this is the exercise I did and what time of day
Right.
I'm doing my exercise, but affirmation. And I'm like, truly because I want to be able, when the big shift happens, look back and go,
Right. This is what it took to
this
get
is what
there.
it took. Like if when I rank Sapphire and you come and you go, Christy, what did you do to triple your
Right.
points from where they were in October to here? I'm going to be able to go, this this is what my weeks look like. This is, you know what I'm saying? Not that I would give you my whole journal, but
Yes.
to kind of
Right.
put it in this
Right.
is it,
That's how you get from A to Z.
you
And
know?
you've got to have that B, C, D, and all the others that are in between. And you can't, I think so many not just diamonds, but people who are kind of put on the spot, what did you do? They cannot outline what they did. Well, I just got here and it took me this many days. And I thought, that's not true. You don't just get in the car and drive. Well, I'm at the diamond destination now, or I'm at the emerald or the sapphire or whatever. There's many, many stops along the way.
Mhm.
And that's the journey that many people are looking for, and it's not stated. I don't know if that makes sense, and it may not be anything that's pertinent to anybody. But if I want to know, why do we read self help books? They give us the ABCs, they give us the bullet points, they
Mhm.
give us what you get from A to B and what it took to get from B down to here. It, stuff just doesn't happen.
I think you're absolutely right.
I agree.
I think there's not currently a platform that provides corporate wide the time and attention for somebody to go through, hey, this was it. And sometimes they share certain things that can repel you. For instance, when I did Brooke Hemingway's mastermind retreat in Florida, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and there were just 15 of us there and formed some of the best relationships ever. But I remember Datha Wilson. Anyway, she's a diamond and she's under Lisa Schrock. And Datha had just gone diamond like 2 months before, and she was talking about it, but all she kept talking about was the fact that she was working like 12, 13 hours a day every day to get it done. And I'm like, I have zero desire to do that. I don't have the
Right.
time. And her kids are older and grown. So it was all she was doing. But I was like, I don't, is that what it takes?
That's
I
not,
don't, I don't
that's
want to do
not what
that.
places talk
And,
about
but
anyway.
she was the only person up to that point who really had said, this is what it took. And I was like, I'm okay being emerald.
I ain't
Where,
gonna take it.
yeah, where I've had people tell me, I don't want to be a jewel because I don't want to work as hard as they see me working, where I'm the one that posts everything or does the events or does whatever. They're like, I don't really have time to do all that. And I'm like, but those things isn't what makes me an emerald. That's just my tendencies, right?
Right.
Like that's
Right.
just who I am. I love to learn, so I love to teach and coach and share. So as we know, the top earning person in Plexus, Celeste, she doesn't do any trainings. The only trainings she does are the ones that corporate writes for her, right? So that's not what it takes. But everybody's
Right.
path is different, like you're talking about, Gina. And so I think it's that question, what price are you willing to pay to see God's dream for you come true? If you feel like God really does see these, earning more through this company so that you can have more wealth and abundance and whatever that looks like, what's the price you're willing to pay? Like, I'm not willing to work 12 hours a day, but I am
Right.
willing to be in messages,
Mhm.
2 hours a day,
Right.
much more than that. And I get really tired. Not like I need to take a nap, but like I'm putting my earpods in and you don't actually need to talk to me. Like
Right.
some
That's
people,
true. That makes you tired
some people have
doing
the
all that.
capacity. My husband, like he goes from work, gets in his car, calls somebody. He's on the phone. If he's like, he loves to talk to people. It fills him up. I hate it. Like, I'm like, these are my things. They're on my planner. And I'm very careful about how I plan out anything that's going to require me to talk or engage, even something like this. Because
Right.
I know how I am, where I'm just kind of like, la, can't.
Right.
Mhm.
There comes a time you're done.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I couldn't work 12 hours a day selling plexus.
Right.
I could work 3, 4. I can read books. Like I said, right now I'm reading 3 books for personal development. But I feel as if God has put them all in place. Like, I don't feel like they're an accident. Right. So, we
Right.
started this book and we've been planning on this book for months, knowing we were going to do this book. And then I was listening to Jessica Heffley and she was talking about this book on her podcast, How Heaven Invades Your Finances. And just how it really helped her accept more of God's providence, of what he truly wants for us and what he's willing to give us.
Right.
I've always
Right.
believed that God wants more rich Christians than rich jerks.
We cannot help others if we don't have the means. I'm
Correct.
sorry. That's just the bottom
Yeah.
line.
To be a blessing, you have to have first been blessed.
Yes, that's
So
right.
the way she talked about this book, I'm like, well, I need that. And then I was looking at something else. Oh, in one of my running Facebook groups. And somebody recommended the 80-20 running book. And you guys know part of my 10X is like, I'm going to do my business and I'm going to do my running. Those are the things that I'm going to work on 10Xing. And I was like, that can't be an accident. That literally somebody I don't know, commented, hey, have you read the 80? Because we're 80-20 rule, we're 80-20 this, we're 80-20
Right.
all this stuff. And then he was like, have you read the 80-20 running book? And I was like, no, but I will order it immediately. And so those are the 3 books that I'm reading, but I feel like all to help this make more sense.
Mhm.
To allow, and I don't know if you've done this. After listening to Jessica Heffley, one of her podcasts, I made up an amount in my head that I wanted to earn, how much I wanted,
Mhm.
what I wanted to get to. And the fascinating thing is I sat down a couple days ago and I 10X'd, like wrote out to come up with what my income is right now and what it would be if it was 10X'd. And then I did my points. If my points 10X'd, how many points would I have and how much money would that be? And so just the number I made up in my head that I wanted to be earning was 2 million a year, which sounds bananas until I 10X'd my points. And do you know what that has me at? 1.8 million. And when I did that, that's when I got this book and I was like, okay, be open to it. Be open to making more money than anybody in your family ever has. Except for my one.
There's no limit. There's no
There really
limit.
is no
The
limit. Not
limit
only
is our mind.
And if we truly know what God's will is for us and how we will use that abundance, like I don't need $1.8 million to live. What's it going to look like? So I actually wrote out before I did that, when I just came up with 2 million, I wrote out how where the 2 million would be allotted
Okay.
to not only show myself, but to show my Heavenly Father, if you allowed me to earn this, this is what I think I would do with it. And it's not all charitable, right?
Right.
There is a large charitable section, but there's also travel with my family. Like he didn't give me these kids on accident.
Family is huge. That's got to come first.
That it's not an accident that I got these 4 kids. It's not going to be an accident what grandkids I have. It's a lot of the money would go to travel and providing, and I just take some
Right.
time
Making
to,
memories for others.
take some time to do the math of 10xing your points and see where you ended up, because that gives you an idea of like, oh, this isn't just like, if I really put all of this into practice, that really is what that looks like. And Jessica Heffley said it was this book that got her thinking that she could do more, but then she got stuck and then she read this book. And I was just like, oh, okay. I hear you.
Right. You always
yeah,
got to
'cause-
keep going up because you're never going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and Jessica Heffley was the one who talked about the 10X book at convention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So take some time to write down for yourself, because it's one thing in theory to be like, this is all good, but to actually, Angie as a school teacher, even though you taught English, like what a blessing you are, because English is so subjective. What did you think about the book? Just as many people hate a book as love a book, but math is math.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You put the numbers in and an answer comes out.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So I would challenge you to put the numbers in and then look and go, if I really put this 10x thing into practice and I zoned in on what I needed to be zoned in on, this is what it looks like.
Mm. Well, and as we're nearing the end of our time, I think this is a good, just a reflection that I had when I got to the end of the chapter and then flipped to the next page. It showed we're moving into section 2, which is now application. So we've been learning theory, the theory of 10x and the layers of it and how just the deeper meaning of it. But starting with next week's chapter, we're going to start learning how to apply this, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
I agree.
Piece.
I felt the same way. Same way.
So, and it made me think back to my years in getting my teaching certification and how we learn all this theory. And there comes a point where you feel like I've got all this theory and I don't know what to do with it. And then that's when the application comes in. And once you complete all that theoretical stuff, well, and we had to do teaching observations along the way. And then we had to reflect on how the theory was reflected in what we observed. And then you go on and do your student teaching. And that's when you learn, oh, this is why I need to know, where teenagers are developmentally and what their brain is like, so that I know how to relate to them, etc.
Right.
So I'm all that to say, I feel like I'm full of theory and I'm ready to get to application.
Well, do the
There
math.
comes a time you have to apply it because everything else becomes confusing because it's rattling around in there and it's got to have a place.
Right. That's true. Absolutely.
Well, I am also very excited to apply this to the other things that I am working on.
It's not just business, it's life.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
So
Good job,
with
everybody.
that, anything else on this chapter? Or are we just ready to move
Apply.
on
Yeah,
and learn
I
how to
think maybe
apply?
we're done.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I said, maybe we're done with it.
I would like to add, we didn't talk about this at all, and we don't need to go into much depth about it, but I did think it was pretty powerful. Top of page 128. And at the bottom of 127, being the buyer means you have clear standards for yourself and you know what you want. The opposite is being a seller, where you're desperate to be in a particular situation because you think you need it. In every social situation, you're either being a buyer or a seller. The difference between a buyer and a seller is the buyer can walk away. The buyer is not desperate to be there. The buyer is the one who does the rejecting, whereas the seller is the one who gets rejected. And when I read that, I was thinking about, because I'm really trying to work on adding a few people to my team who want to do the business and work really in depth with them, and being the buyer, like being really selective about who I want to coach through growing a team. I'll sell stuff to anybody, everybody who's alive needs my products. You can buy them from me, but I will not accept everybody as a business builder that
And
wants
you
to be
can't.
coached by me. Obviously, anybody,
You
Plexus provides enough tools these days that nobody even needs an upline to do it. They're nice, but I know that I'm a good coach. And so I want to be very selective about, hey, who do I want to dig in? Who do I want to talk to every week? Who want to help? Who do I not roll my eyes at when they text me thinking, oh, what now? I want to be selective about who I want my legs to be as I become a 4-star diamond. And that's something I think to
have to be
think about. You're
selective.
not desperate. You don't need a huge Plexus team. You want one. So be smart about who you try to get to work the business with you.
Yes.
It's true.
And the ones that you think, I'm just not even going to
Not even
approach
going to
that
tell them they can
person.
make money, right? Listen, they got the text from Plexus telling them they could jump on a call and learn how to make money. If somebody wants it, they can do it. We're just like the sprinkles on the ice cream sundae, coaching people through it.
Right.
So be smart about where you share your sprinkles.
Yes.
Right.
I like that.
All right, you guys. You're awesome.
So are you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Have a great week.
All right. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.